place where we collect stories and circulate life-changing wisdom. I'm your host, Asher, and today we have another awesome guest, Dr. Emily Levy. Did I say that right?
Levy, but close enough.
Levy. Yeah, Levy. I know that name, Levy. And we're going to talk about the theme of today, which is needs, around needs, what you need to think, do, or feel. And we're going to just get into that conversation today. But if you join us live right now, go ahead and put hashtag live in the chat. If you're joining us, if you're going to catch us on replay, go ahead and put hashtag replay in the chat so we can know that you're out there listening and enjoying what we're talking about. So first, I will start off with you, Dr. Levy,
Levy.
Dr. Emily Levy. If you can just give us a really quick introduction about yourself, what you specialize in, or you're adding value to the world, who you're being a hero to.
Absolutely. Well, first off, thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited to be here. I am currently the founder and director of a tutoring program for individuals who have special education needs, both children and adult, including those who have learning disabilities like dyslexia, also ADHD, autism, really all types of special education students. I actually grew up in the field of special education down in Florida. My mother ran a school for students with learning disabilities, so I spent so much of my childhood being trained in various approaches for helping students with special education needs. I eventually went to Brown University for my undergraduate degree. I then received my master's degree in special education, as well as my doctorate degree in general education. And in addition to providing one-on-one tutoring through the wonderful tutors that work with our organization, I've also been doing a lot of advocacy work and speaking, being on podcasts about how parents can help their children who have special education needs and how adults themselves can also work on building those core skills that are really essential for success.
She got me all excited right now because 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 I'm a student of this the symptom of ADD and dyslexia. I've been working on getting better at this thing for a lifetime. And so now I'm excited about talking to you today, Dr. Emily. So you can kind of help me figure this out too, because I'm sure people probably going through some of the same challenges I'm going through. And so I'll give you a quick short story. So my whole life, I thought like for the first 35 years of my life, the only book I read from cover to cover was the Bible. So I feel like it took me 35 years to read one book. And back in 2016, set this challenge to read and listen to 100 books a year, 1,000 books in 10 years. So I've been working on me, just working on me. But the difficulties of the symptom of ADD and dyslexia has been something that really made me feel like really so low self-esteem, a lack of confidence. I didn't have a lot of that. I didn't really believe in myself a lot of ways because I just didn't have the ways of tapping into other people's stories other than just one-on-one conversation. So tapping into books and that journey itself of really getting education in that process was very hard for me. I also felt like most of my high school I cheated because I had to tap into other people's, solutions for me to actually get to school because learning through schools, the system wasn't easy for me. I just didn't feel like it really connected to my learning abilities. So I didn't feel like I was smart most of my life until I got later on in my years. I'm like, okay, actually, you have skills. People keep telling you pretty good at certain things. It's just that my learning ability in certain areas wasn't there. I wasn't aware of it. So I discovered that my this the sense perception that I learned faster through is my hearing, like hearing things versus me actually reading stuff certain ways. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that you're certainly not alone with your story. And I think, first off, so many individuals who have ADHD, dyslexia, learning disabilities have low self-esteem. And I think part of that is because they see everyone else succeeding in school, and school is such a challenge for them. Reading is a challenge. And something I always tell students and individuals is that some of the greatest leaders, CEOs, most successful people in the world have
Mhm.
ADHD or dyslexia or some type of learning disability, and they just find a way to create their own path, and they tend to
Mhm.
hire other people to do the things that they struggle with. So there really can be a light at the end of the road. It is not a reason to feel like there's no hope or you can't be successful in life, because it's the opposite. I think there's so many gifts that individuals who have these kinds of challenges also have, and it's a matter of tapping into those gifts. So I think, first off, you're not alone, and it's
Mhm.
so great to hear that even as an adult, you're still working on pushing through and growing and self-discovery and all of that, because some people just give up and they just kind of lose hope. So that's really great, and you should be an inspiration to so many others. I think also that A lot of the challenge really is getting through school. When you have
Mm.
ADHD, there's so many organizational demands, there's so many different assignments you have to keep track of that those who have ADHD really struggle to get through school. Same thing is true with dyslexia. Everything involves reading, everything involves writing. So if you struggle with that, it's hard to get through school. But once you get through school and you find your path, whether it's something creative, whether it's in sales or communicating with people, once you find your path, you really have the ability to do wonders and to be incredibly successful in life.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I feel good already. I feel better already.
Right?
Here's something as well, I used to, a lot of folks probably feel the same way. I used to hate school. I think I felt like school was a place of torture. Because what I discovered is when I used to go to school, I felt like the skill set that they teach you in school about like the individual work. And when I leave school, I got in the military and it was all about teamwork. And I'm like, wait a minute, like my entire time in school, why we couldn't do a lot of teamwork in school based on the things? Because I do very well with teamwork.
Mm.
But the individual work, I wasn't doing so well at it. So I never really liked school. When somebody say, "Oh, you gotta go to school for this," I'm like, I don't want to go there. And a lot of people go through life doing the same thing. But I'm understanding what the school process is because I think school is just a pathway. An academy is a pathway. University is a pathway. Just like you would think about an academy, you got to name academy like this, Academy Avenue, right? It's a pathway to something else. So I never realized how school was set up. It's a pathway to something else. It's not a place you go and stay.
Right.
And I was learning that, okay, Asher, it's just a path to go there and see whether or not the institution or organization is going to take you to the destination you want to go at. But when I start to see the power in the school piece, the university piece, I'm like, okay, I need to get back in there. I need not to fear it anymore. I need to go there and face the thing. And that's what I'm start doing these days. I'm like, okay, I need to go in and face it. But a lot of people still scared of school. I was scared of school for a long time.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that traditionally school was really very much of an individual process, a lot of rote memorization, a lot of working on your own. And I think there's starting to be a little bit of a shift in that
Mhm.
in the workplace there's so much teamwork, there's so much problem solving, and you don't really learn that in school. So many
Mm,
schools are starting to shift to integrate more teamwork, more problem solving, really doing more of what the workplace will look like. Now with that said, it's a long road. I don't think schools will ever completely shift to that model, but I
mm,
think that there is this school of thought that those skills are so important for succeeding in the workplace. But like you said, in a way, it's kind of a means to an end. You just have to kind of get through it to get your degree and move on and continue on your journey. And there is going to be that element of individual work, of pushing through struggles. But there's also a lot of support out there now that really wasn't there when I was a kid, or probably when you were a kid also. And so I think there's a lot more support out there for getting through that journey of all of that individual work that's still required.
mm. I'm curious. Why is this specialty so important to you right now?
It's something that I'm very passionate about. I really see so many kids struggle, so many kids that, like you mentioned, have low self-esteem, low confidence. They have a lot of mental health challenges. They have anxiety, they have depression. And when you can teach them how to build their skills and show them the strengths that they have and
Mm,
show them growth and really show them what they were doing 6 months ago compared to what they're doing now and really empower them, it can really be life changing, both in terms of their current place and their whole future trajectory. I really believe when you feel confident in yourself and you have the skills, the possibilities really are endless. So it's something that I've become very passionate about.
mm. And when you first became aware of this passion for this particular um disadvantage that folks face in life, when you first noticed that this becomes something for you.
When I was a kid, my
Mm,
mother, like I mentioned, she ran a school for students with learning disabilities down in Florida. And I spent my after school hours, summer hours, working at her schools, observing kids, and really kind of seeing this transformation of kids who came in and they were so used to red marks all over their paper and very
mm,
poor self-esteem. And then after getting the right support, really seeing their lives turn around for the better. And I think since a very young age, I've been so motivated by what the right support can do for kids and for adults who have these kinds of struggles.
I tell you what, I notice in a lot of people because I can see because I'm working on me, I can see the same challenge other people have. And one of the big problem was like being very disorganized. Like me personally, I feel like my brain, which is what I noticed, my brain work process information way faster than a lot of people. And the thing that I noticed is that for me to really organize my ideas was one of my biggest challenges. And I see a lot of my friends, they're very creative, same thing, very creative, but doesn't have the system or the tools to really organize all that information that they're processing.
Mm,
And but I noticed once they get to a place where like even surrounded by a lot of people that are, hey, put this here, organize this, they become so powerful because they know organize all that stuff that they have in their head. And I'm noticing that was for me too. Like one of the things I would say in the military, one of my supervisors, I used to always get it because I used to forget a lot of stuff. Like because I write them down like all like notes pads all over the place, but I still couldn't keep track of all of my notes.
mm,
And it was like, Asher, man, just use the calendar. Just put it on the calendar. And it took me a while to kind of integrate that habit. But after I'm like, oh my God, like this thing really helps. I can predict what's coming. And because sometimes you get into a situation, it's easy to wing certain things because I'm pretty good at winging things. But then when I get to a situation where I needed to prepare for it, but I get into it and oh, I can't wing this one. I got to prepare for it, but I didn't because I wasn't tracking it. And it
mm.
used to make me feel so bad on the inside. But I'm sure you've probably seen a lot of that stuff with the folks you work with.
Absolutely. And I think as you alluded to, there's so many resources now and so much technology that
Mhm.
can help you be more organized. For instance, there's so much we can do just with our phones,
Mhm.
using the calendars, setting up automatic reminders to remind you of something 30 minutes before or an hour before, using the notes section of your phone so that you don't have to have random post-it notes everywhere, but you have notes and you have categories of notes. You can
Mhm.
organize your emails into different categories. So there's so many apps, so many tools that we can literally use with our phones now to help stay organized and to build in a lot of those systems and tools into place.
We're gonna tackle email because I have a lot of friends, and one of my friends, I'm gonna talk about her specifically here because she we used to joke about because a lot of people communicate like through emails, and oftentimes people think like they're gonna communicate with you based on what they want to communicate to, but sometimes you gotta figure out how do you communicate with somebody based on how they will respond. She was like, Asher, I have so much emails and it overwhelms me. But if I'm on like Teams and they send me something in the chat, I will respond right away because I'm tracking it there. But then the person like, oh, I'm gonna send you an email because that's easier for me, but not realizing that the person responds better with Teams chat. So we gotta figure out exactly how that person respond to really communicate with them. And I think a lot of emails, like I used to get overwhelmed with email, like, oh my God, it's driving me crazy because I couldn't keep up.
Mm.
And so, what are your thoughts on that?
I think you're right. I think that it's a tricky one because different people have different preferences in terms of how they like to communicate. Some like
Mhm.
email, some like text, some like group chat. So I do think there is always a little bit of a learning process in terms of how a person likes to communicate. Sometimes it's about asking them what is their preferred method of communication and then just focusing on that. I know, small example, but most people I know respond faster with text, except my dad. He only responds to email. So I only email him because I've just picked up on that pattern that he likes emailing. So I can get in touch with him faster through email than through text or phone call. So I think it's a matter of figuring out what that person prefers and then going with
Mhm.
that.
That's very interesting. I'm also thinking about another friend right now. I have so many friends that are in my boat. That's just and it's not that she's also very creative too. And she gets over me every day because she has a lot of ideas. She get in the conversation. And she was telling me she was on, I think it was Adderall, I think for a while.
Sure.
She was on it for like I think like 20 years. Then she got off of it, and I could see the difference.
Mm.
Like she gets very distracted very easy. Like just get very distracted. And I was like, man, I'm trying to figure out how that really help because she doesn't want to get back on the Adderall thing. But I was like, man, what could you advise a person that gets very distracted very easy, doesn't follow up on certain things because they don't remember? Like what are some of your advice for the folks you work with?
Sure. Well, first off, for many individuals, medication does do wonders. It really, especially for kids who are just not absorbing what's going on in the class because they're so distracted, it really can help. But of course, there are others that don't want to go into the medication realm, and I respect that. And I think for those, it's really a matter of setting up systems and strategies. So, for example, if your friend's mind tends to wander a lot, she might set a 15-minute timer. So,
Mm,
if she has work to do, she might say, I'm going to work for 45 minutes. And then I'm going to give myself 15 minutes and I'm going to set my timer to just ruminate and think and just do whatever I need to do. But then when that buzzer goes off after the 15 minutes, I'm going to get back into my work. And then it might be a matter of doing another 45 minutes of work and then setting that timer again. And maybe 15 minutes is too short or too long. It's sometimes you have to tweak that a little bit, but it's a matter of building it in these types of strategies to help kind of hone in on the distractions.
mm. I like that 15 minutes. It actually works for me, actually. I mean, I've been, you would suggest, I would suggest some of these things, but then it's a matter of making them habitual for that person that gets distracted. So I work on timer, like for myself. I always say, like, I'm on the phone, I'm going to set a timer. After this, it's going to go off. I'm like, okay, my hour is up or my 30 minutes is up. And it really helps me actually to really stay on track
Yeah,
because I got so much going on sometimes. I'm like, man, how do I keep up? A
yeah,
timer works very well.
absolutely.
Hmm. Anything else that you work on that are definitely awesome tools or system or strategy that you've used that works very well with people with like dyslexia?
Well, dyslexia, even though it's often combined with ADHD, it's not always. And those who have dyslexia tend to struggle with reading and writing, and
Mm,
it comes in different forms, but a lot of individuals who have dyslexia really struggle with decoding, with the phonetic aspect of reading words. And
mm,
especially as young kids, it's really hard to get through school. But again, there are methods. For instance, there's a method called the Orton-Gillingham method, which is
mm,
research-based as really being the most effective method for helping individuals with dyslexia develop stronger reading skills. So if they can get that kind of support in school or outside of school with this particular method, it really can help them to build their decoding skills, their phonics skills. And then others struggle with comprehension. So it's a matter of teaching them strategies. For one strategy, for example, if someone struggles to read a passage and then really understand the material, we might teach them to become more active readers, meaning when they're reading, the first thing they should look for is the topic, which is what the author is saying about the passage, like the beach or World War I. And they'll take out a blue highlighter and highlight the topic. And then they'll look for the main idea, what the author is saying about the topic. Like if the topic was World War I, the main idea might be there were many battles of World War I, and they'll highlight that in green. And then they'll go through and highlight the important details in yellow. And maybe they write then a 1 to 2 line summary in their own words of what they just read, or they think
mm,
about predictions or making inferences. So really teaching them to actively engage with the text can often help with comprehension. So it's really a matter of building in a lot of strategies and then having a lot of repetition, a lot of practice with them.
mm. Go back to that method you mentioned. What was the title of that method?
Orton Gillingham. So it's Orton. That's the first word. And then Gillingham, Gillingham. It's a very structured and systematic approach to really breaking words down.
Hmm. No, I'm have to look this up. Say Ortone.
No E at the end, just Orton.
Uh-huh.
And then Gillingham, Gillingham.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. I'm always looking at getting better at this thing because I realize it's going to be a lifetime project. Because I'm a strong believer, and I was thinking maybe you had some of these challenges symptoms wise, but that's why you're so passionate about it. But I realize it's gonna be a lifetime project for me, so I'm thinking I'm gonna learn as much as I can about this thing, get better at it because I figure if because I know it's not going completely gone, but if I find it tools and system to surround myself with, to practice to make it a habit, I can definitely figure out a way to make a life a lot more easier. Because all my ideas that I have that shows up so much so often every day, I gotta find a way to put them out there and get people that can help me organize them. Because how I see myself is like I don't think linearly most of the time. I think like the web thing where I can just connect the dots on a
Mm,
certain thing. That's how life works better for me. I have to see big picture of things sometimes for me to even take action. So a lot of time when people like, I should do step one, two, three, I'm like, man, so hard for me to start. Because if I don't know exactly where I'm going, it's very hard for me to take the first step because I want to see it.
right.
I'm not sure if that's your experience when we're working with folks in that area.
Well, yes, but that's also a gift because you're more of a visionary. It sounds like you have great ideas. You're a visionary, you're a thinker. And sometimes I find that when individuals are so linear and they're so detail oriented, they really struggle to come up with great innovative ideas. And we need
Mm,
the people with the innovative ideas, the thinkers, to really make this world turn and have innovation. So it's really a gift. It's just a matter of channeling those ideas a little bit and learning strategies for how to get those out on paper and really articulate them.
mm. So who would you recommend person with ADD and dyslexia surround themselves with? What kind of people? What kind of characteristic or can't find the right word, but what kind of people that normally help them become more successful based on the skill set?
Well, I think if they're really committed to improving their skills, then I think it's really helpful to work with someone who's either what we call an executive functioning coach, which is great for ADHD, where they can work on strategies for things like organization, planning, time management, task initiation, those kinds of skills, or a specialized tutor, which is kind of what we do as well, where it's
Mhm.
focused in on teaching specific strategies for building these core skills. So I think it's really a matter of committing yourself to getting the right support, to improving these skills, and then finding the right person that can help teach these strategies.
Here's my other question then. So how important it is for the person to surround themselves with people that have the skill set or for them to learn the actual skills itself?
It's more important to learn the skills. I think being
Learn the skills.
around someone who happens to be really organized or being a good reader isn't really going to help you improve your skills. I think it's
Mhm.
more important to be friends with whoever you want to be friends with, but work on yourself and find those people that can help you feel better and improve your own skills.
And for the folks that you work with, what are some of the skills that you often taught in on the basic phase, initial phase, for them to actually master first to move on to become more successful?
I think it really depends on the individual. There's so many people that have so many different types of challenges. Some are single challenges, or some are a combination of challenges. For
Mm,
kids, for instance, it's really important that they have a foundation in reading because reading affects all skills, all
mhm,
aspects of school. But I think with adults, for instance, a lot of times it's more a matter of how their challenges are affecting their own life. For instance, they might really struggle to write. They might find that they can't write an email, they can't put a resume together, and that's really the skill that they need the most help with at that given time. So I think it's a matter of just really analyzing the whole picture, what's going on with that person, and what's the best approach given their current struggles.
mm. Curious. What is the best part of your job right now?
I think the best part is just really seeing the changes in people when they get the right support and just looking at what they were able to do before we started with them and looking at what they're able to do towards the end or after a certain period of time. And it really warms my heart to see how much progress people can make when they get the right support.
Yeah, I can see that as well. And for the folks that you work with, what are some of the favorite thing that they like to experience after working with you?
I think, for instance, individuals who previously struggled to read find
Mm,
a whole new world in being able to read and all of the books that are out there and language and really being immersed in that. I
mm,
think that's really empowering. I think that when individuals learn strategies for organization, that can really be life-changing as well. When they learn to channel all of their great ideas, they learn systems and strategies for being more organized. It can often help them sustain a job, whereas previously they really struggled to do that because they were disorganized, they were late, they were constantly all over the place. So learning strategies can really help them keep a job. So it really, I think it affects itself in a positive way in so many different aspects.
mm. Wow. I wish I met you when I was when I was young in my age.
Oh, thank you.
It would make such a difference for my life because oh my God, Dr. Emily, I struggled so hard.
Yeah.
Like so hard. I mean, it's good thing that I was in the military because it was a lot of teamwork and I do very well. Like my physical ability was there, but when it comes to like the mental, the educational piece, it was the hardest thing. I didn't do a lot of things because I know part of it includes like book work. I'm like, I don't want to do it because I'm gonna get stuck in that area, but I can do it physically. But The education part used to hold me back so much, so much. And I finally got a breakthrough. I'm like, oh no, I can really learn. I can figure out how to learn now. And that feels so good to feel that way.
Yeah. That light bulb moment can be really empowering.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
And you're a
Ah,
great example, by the way, for so many people who struggle as kids in school and struggle the way you did. You found great success and you have so many wonderful things going on in your life. So, like I said, there's oftentimes really a light at the end of that journey.
it is, it is, it is. Well, thank God for people like you, Dr. Emily. You're actually right now for real. I'm listening to, I'm like, you're my hero, my friend.
Wow. Thank you.
because because this is somewhere that if I could, I mean, the anti-hero, I know what it was, but it took me a while to figure what it was. Because I tell you what, when I first discovered the symptom of dyslexia, I cried for like 30 minutes
Mm,
because I didn't understand like, I mean, I understand exactly why my life was so hard. After I looked at the label, I'm like, okay, I start looking at the symptom, like, man, that was so me.
yeah,
And I was in tears for a long time. I was like, oh my God, now I know what the enemy is because now once I know what the enemy is, I can fight back. I can do something about it. But I didn't know. So I didn't even know that category exists. I mean, I learned about ADD, but I didn't learn about dyslexia.
sure.
And once I discovered, I'm like, wow, okay, I gotta do something about this. Now I got really more like ambitious about certain things because I'm like, okay, I can figure stuff out now because I can find information that's aligned with that category. And that's what the breakthrough for me. I can find information that tied to it, that tied to it. I can learn about it. And it makes a lot of difference in my life.
Yeah. Well, I think many years ago, dyslexia was not commonly diagnosed. Kids just had reading challenges. But now that it is often identified much younger, it's diagnosed much younger, we really can come up with a treatment plan starting at a much younger age. So
Yeah.
that really makes a difference when you identify what it is, and then you can really work on the remediation piece.
Yeah. I grew up in Jamaica. We ain't, there was nothing about ADD and dyslexia. You were just either you were a dumb kid or you were a smart kid, right? And if you,
Yeah, that's how
yeah,
it was for many of us as kids. But
yeah.
unfortunately, that I think that's changed in many places, not everywhere, but I think
Hmm.
that's definitely evolving.
Mm. Have you written anything on this topic?
I have written many articles for
Hmm.
various publications on different strategies that people can use for building organizational skills, reading, writing. So that I pretty frequently do writing. It's something that I really enjoy as well.
Mm. I mean, you use the word strategy a lot. I understand what that word means, but sometimes people hear it because before I actually really dig into strategy, I didn't even understand what that word really means for me personally.
Mm.
So I know you use the word a lot, strategy, but what are some of those like easy one to understand to pick apart so people can understand when you talk about strategy, what you're really focusing on?
A strategy is really a tool to help you, whether that means using the calendar in your phone and setting alarms to alert you 30 minutes before that activity or whatever you have planned in your calendar. Or maybe it's a strategy like working on time management, where you work on estimating time versus comparing it to the actual time, meaning how much time do I think this task is going to take to complete? And then how much time did it actually take? And then reflecting on that. And usually those who have time management weaknesses are completely off and unrealistic with how long something takes to complete. So it's a matter of using a strategy and then reflecting on that strategy and then growing from there.
Wow, that was me. Inability to manage tasks across time. I used to run into that roadblock every day. I
Yeah.
said I'm gonna do this in this time, estimate my time, and I blew it. Either I'm too short or too long. It was very hard to manage that piece. And so you're seeing that a lot of kids now. You're seeing it. That's something you're helping them with.
Absolutely. Kids and adults. Very
Mm,
common.
mm. Well, if you listen to this right now, Dr. Emily Levy, that's that right?
Yes, you
She
did.
is she is an expert in this area of helping folks with these learning disability labels that's out there. And I think I used to shun off labels, but then I understand they're just containers for information to kind of like sit at. And without labels, you won't be able to find the information. So with those labels, I can find what information tied to it. I can learn about it because people are gonna package these in these containers. So once I recognize, I'm like, oh my gosh, so now I need to just look up what's tied to this label. Not that I'm an ADD or dyslexic guy. I just know that I struggle with the symptoms of those labels. And how do I find ways to improve my life so I can become better at being a good citizen, a good human being?
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to share, Dr. Emily, about your journey?
I think this was a great conversation. I think it's really when you get the right support for someone who's struggling, it can just be so life-changing. So I think
Mhm.
having someone to coach you, to teach you strategies, to build these skills, whether it's reading, writing, organizational skills, executive functioning, really can just make such a world of difference.
Mm. And if people gotta find you, where would they find you? Where would they be able to find you at?
Sure. Well, the best place is our website, which is eblcoaching.com. E like Edward, B like boy, L like Larry coaching. And then we also have an EBL coaching Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok channel.
Wow. Well, here's my closing question. I ask everybody that shows up. I've been asking a lot of people lately, but what is that one thing or two thing when people do it that drives you crazy? If you had to share with us, what would that be?
Oh, that drives me crazy. I would say when people are perpetually very late, that bothers me a little bit. When I'm there waiting and I'm ready, and then I'm waiting and waiting and waiting, which, by the way, is something that I work on helping people with. But I would say that's something that definitely kind of gets to me because I'm like, I have things to do. I'm busy. Where are you? So me, I would say that just popped up in my head as one.
What's number two?
Number two, let's see. I would say. Maybe when someone takes on too much and they think they can get it all done, and then they end up shortchanging themselves and doing everything, but not really that well. I think kind of not knowing your own limitations.
Hmm. Okay. All right, Dr. Emily. You've been amazing, by the way. Thank you so much for coming here and sharing your specialty, what you specialize in with us.
Thank you for having me. It was really such a pleasure.
Of course. And you've tuned in Pandora's Awareness Podcast, a place where we collect stories and circulate life-changing wisdom. And again, if you're catching this on live, go ahead and put hashtag live in the comment section. And if you're catching this on replay, go ahead and put hashtag replay so we know that you're out there checking us out. And with that, folks, make it an awesome day.